Hey, Jose.
Hello, boys and girls, and undecided. How are you today?
Doing well.
I think I'm pretty clear on where I land on that question. How are things, Jose?
If it fits, wear
Yes,
it.
indeed, indeed. If the glove does not fit, yeah,
Oh no, don't go there.
yeah, it's funny. It's in the news again, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I feel like back in the '90s, talking about the current people. Like, wait a minute, am I back in the '90s? So, uh, yeah, I wouldn't mind going back to the '90s. Just don't take away the internet. Then I'll be set.
yeah, yeah. That's it. There you go.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, people are like, oh, we should go. The '90s were so awesome and everything. Was like, no, they weren't. No, they weren't that awesome. I mean, you had no phone, no none of your fancy phones. Um,
Yeah,
you didn't have fast internet. You know what? Let's not even go there because it's nothing but nostalgia.
yeah. Well, I like going there. I'm trying to remember when I got my first phone, right? And that's what it was. It was a phone. It's
I
it must have been.
had one of those old.
It was after 2000. I'd never. I mean, I was late to the party of feeling like I needed to take my phone with me everywhere I went, right? So I mean, it was probably 2000 2001 before I finally decided, okay, I'll give in and join the bandwagon on this thing.
I had
Yeah.
one of those old Nokia phones that looked like a cordless handset that you would have in your house.
Yeah, yeah. Mine was Qualcomm, but yeah, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
Mine had the retractable antenna that you could pull out, so to take that effect even further.
Wow. We're old.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Some people will not even um they will not relate. Let me just put it that way. And it's okay. It's part of the game. I tell that to all the younger developers that I meet, and like, worry, you were gonna get old and you don't even know why or when or how.
Yeah.
It's just gonna happen. One day when you become the, more seasoned developer, let's say, and you have an intern and he or she cannot relate to what you're saying, that's when you know you're old. Or when they say, "Oh yeah, I did that when I was back in grammar school or high school," and then that's something you did for a living as a professional. That's when it hurts the most.
Yeah.
Um, and you're like, you know, yeah, I have to wait to make those awakenings
Yeah. Yeah.
recently. So I just embrace it now instead of like fight it, because one day it, um, it's okay. Though when you're in your 20s, think you're like immortal, and magical 3-0 number seems so far away, and it's like, oh, this is for old people, man. And you think that you're life over, but
Yeah.
it's not. It's just another day, really.
Yeah. My daughter has gotten very fond of telling my wife that she's old. So
Wow.
that's she thinks that's really
Uh,
funny. It's of course I encourage that, right? So, you know.
you do, huh?
Oh, the instigator.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But she, my wife is older than me. So, she is the old lady by 2 days. I try not to throw that in there, but
Nice,
yeah,
nice. That's a big party then when there's two birthdays back to back, huh?
it is. Yeah, when we turned 40, it was definitely a big party. We had
That's it. Just
we had a raging alcohol-filled haze at our house that day. That was good. My parents came and we had all kinds of friends and family, and it was cool.
you had me at alcohol day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Nice.
90s, I was in school for almost all of it. I mean, I didn't get a real world job until the very end of the 90s. I think it was you're roughly my age, I think, Jose, probably. I was born in 75. I think you're a little younger, Noah.
Yeah, I wasn't born till '83.
83. Yeah.
What?
You're just a
I can't
baby.
be. No, Noah cannot be younger than me. Are you, Noah?
Uh,
Seriously?
if you were born prior to that, I'm afraid I am.
Oh my God.
Numbers don't
Holy
lie.
smokes. I am. Yeah, you're right. Numbers don't lie. Wow, I do feel old. Thank you, Noah. Now, about after this conversation, I'm gonna go and cry in the closet there for a couple minutes, maybe a couple hours, and just
Well,
you know.
if it's any consolation, you make me feel better. I work in an office with a lot of young people these days, so I went from a place where the average age was probably, I don't know, probably in late 40s, early 50s maybe, to a place where the average age is probably mid to late 20s.
Ouch.
That's funny.
How's that going?
Yeah. It's going really well, but I definitely feel like the old man sometimes around that place.
Yeah. I can remember a time when you could make a reference to a joke from Seinfeld and everybody knew what you were talking about, right? And now it's it's ancient history, and it's kind of funny how that I don't remember when that happened. I don't remember when the transition from, hey, I'm the up and coming promising young guy who has my bright future ahead of me, to being
Right.
to being something else. I don't know what I am now, but I'm not that anymore.
It hurts, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's a hard pill to swallow for sure.
It's a little uppercut, tiger uppercut to the um, to the ego right
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Well,
Um,
I think about too today, right? Standing up is painful, and it's hard to get out of the chair. I played basketball yesterday, and I hurt all over. My body is in pain, and it will probably be for a few days to come, because and it's what I did yesterday was not, that would have been, nothing, no big deal 10 years ago.
yeah, don't worry, we're getting there. You're
Yeah.
gonna get there faster than I am, but still, I'm gonna
So I was wrong. You're not as old as me.
I'm not that older. No, not that.
Mm.
Thank you for the insult, I guess.
Oh.
No, it's all good.
Look,
I'm sorry?
I just, you look, yeah, I guess it's hard to tell with, with guys that make Scott Hanselman look tall, right? It's hard
Okay.
to tell, Okay.
Listen, we'll find out. We'll find out in about what, 2 weeks from now or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Deteriorating
Um,
quickly.
yeah. It's okay. I mean, it's all about um, how you feel internally. To be honest with you, I know it sounds kind of cheesy and kind of, oh, what are you smoking today, Jose? I don't smoke anything. Um, but I'm looking back now, right? Like doing some retrospect of how I felt. I don't know, about 5, 10 years ago to today. I mean, today I think I'm in better physical shape than I was easily 10 years ago. That's not to brag of anything, but I mean, it's just a change of lifestyle, and it has worked great. I mean, I was freaking lazy in my 20s, man. Because I was riding on the youth wagon.
Yeah.
I was just like, eating junk food. What the heck was my favorite thing to do? Hot Pocket. You guys remember those?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was my go-to meal. I mean, when I used to play a lot of video games and, I didn't want to bother eating healthy or good, I used Hot Pockets and I don't know, whatever soda was on sale. And that was
Yeah.
basically it.
Yeah, in
Um,
my 20s, man, I ate pretty good, really, relatively, right? And I thought I was eating a lot better than I really was. I think my go-tos were scrambled eggs with tortillas, and canned tuna. I would just get a big old thing of saltine crackers and pop open a can of tuna and just eat those. So those were probably my, relatively inexpensive meals that I had more than anything else.
you know,
Oh man, I ate a lot of Ben and Jerry's ice cream,
come again?
among other things.
Ben
Ben
and
and Jerry's
Jerry's.
ice cream.
Oh,
Oh man, I had a terrible diet. I drink soda too. Sit there and have a couple of Pepsis maybe in a day, and then
Yeah.
eat a cheese quesadilla for breakfast. It was bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a hell of a lot of beer in my 20s too. That was, I've never been a real big, whatever you call it, soda, pop, whatever it's called in wherever you are. I never,
right.
it was not something that was ever, something that really appealed that much to me. So I don't, I haven't ever had that as a thing. But yeah, beer I drank a lot of when I was, well, most of my existence. I did finally realize though that, um, drinking some of the macro brews is not that big a deal. It's not a very good experience either, but micro brews really trigger allergies. I really, I don't know what it is, whether it's, the hops or, something in there causes me to, my nose gets all stuffed up, and, into the next day. And it's sometimes will cause some of my asthma symptoms to appear. So it's, I don't do much beer anymore.
Getting old, man.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, the craft brews tend to be unfiltered, so that's probably what's making the difference, I suspect.
Yeah, that sounds
That,
reasonable.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, ironically enough, Dave, when I was in my 20s, I was much more of an older man, mentally wise. I was more, God damn, I was so rigid with myself and those around me, right? And I know I did not even drink. I mean, I didn't even go to the bar until it was like what, late 20s, maybe early 30s, that which was like a couple years ago. Beforehand, I will not. I'm like, why the hell am I gonna pay? I don't know, $6 for a beer at a bar where I can, or or whatever, right? Where I could get me a six pack for, I don't know, $7, $8. Like, to me, I try to make sense out of it. It makes no sense. I like to warm up to that experience. And in my previous job when I was in the city, the person that I was working with, he, really cool guy. We worked together for 4 years, so you're bound to have a little link. And he was more in the financial business side of things. In New York, he's always been like that. So he's like, Jose, the trick here in the city is that all what is it, deals happen over drinks. And I learned a lot from that guy. Now that I realize it, I learned a lot, like a lot from him. So we used to go to just get a beer or two, and he introduced me to all this kind of different beers and all these different kind of things. So he opened up our world basically. And but before that, I would not go to pay $6 for a beer. Like, that's insane to me. But now, man, if I can afford it, why the hell not? I'm like, hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I'm kind of the opposite. I still, I mean, I stand by my assertion that I have all throughout history is that there's really only one reason to go to the bar, and that's to meet the opposite sex, right? And since that is off the table as an objective for me these days, I've lost all my motivation to go to the bar. It was something that was very strong in the old days, and yeah, I can take or leave bars. I would much rather be at home with reasonably priced beverages and just people around me that are the ones that I want there.
true. Yeah, basically nowadays I go if I'm in the mood. I like to, like just like deflate, just just be relaxed and whatnot. And I'm not gonna say I go there to get hammered. I can barely handle 2 beers, especially from the local breweries. Like I told you, I think last week or so. That because they're not super processed, right? Like it comes straight from the source. The nectar is very, very fresh,
Yeah.
so it really hits you hard. And yeah, also I can't do it because of my gastritis, so that holds me back. Even if I want to go a little crazy and wild, I pay for it severely the
Yeah.
next day or the next week, really, the whole week. So yeah. But I'm realizing that I'm like, I used to be such a freaking, in the 20s, I used to be such a, I don't know, like old man mentality. And with all respect, sirs, um, I used to not have a lot of fun, and now that I have, like a family and my boys and everything, now I do the stuff that I should have really done when I was like in my 20s by myself or with a missus. And I'm like, I think I'm aging backwards.
Yeah.
Like at least mentally, I think I'm aging backwards. But it's just one of those things, right? Like then again, I don't follow status quo anyway. I don't follow. If you put me a rule and like society puts me a rule and says, Jose, you have to follow this, I say, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I feel old, man. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah. Speaking of old, since I grew this out on my chin, I started noticing that I've got lots of gray hairs there, right? That's pretty much the only place, but it's very front and center on that.
The beard will remind you very quickly.
Yeah.
About how old you're getting. A lot more tend to grow there up on top.
Yeah. Well, I'm still just happy that I can still grow hair up there. That's a lot of my friends from school that are not so fortunate. So it's not personal to me, but it's a reminder that I am not young anymore when I see some of my high school buddies and what they look like these days.
Yeah,
I wonder.
That's kind of why I let it grow out a little, because I can see the signs. The day is coming, right? It's getting farther and farther back on my forehead, and someday I think my head's just gonna have to look like yours, because I will not do big patches here or there. If I'm obviously bald, I'm not combing you over. I'll just shave it.
That's funny. Yeah, I was gonna try to make a joke about the president of the USA, but
oh boy,
it's why, right? What's the point of that? But yeah, I guess to me, I really don't care too much, right? My appearance is not the thing that has drawn people to me during my life, and I figured that shaving my head is the easiest way that I can cut my hair, and it's also the quickest way to do it, where I don't have to go anywhere and I can do it with just myself. And so it's that's what I do. When it gets long enough to bother me, then it goes.
Yeah, I've thought about it once or twice, but I don't know. I think I'd have a hard time making it look uniform.
Yeah.
There'd be little hairs sticking out here or there that I think I just have a hard time getting.
Yeah, I definitely have that. I don't put a whole lot of effort into making it look perfect. I usually have a few kind of by my ear that kind of get missed and some of that stuff. And I mean, if I put the effort into it, I can make it look real nice. But my objective is not to look pretty, so I kind of let it go.
Kind of disagree with you guys on there.
You what?
Disagree.
You disagree?
Yeah, a little bit.
About looking pretty?
Yeah.
Maybe you're saying you think I'm beautiful.
Maybe you are, Dave. Maybe you are.
Maybe.
You are. Hey, it's okay. What is it? And this goes back to what I was saying earlier about my 20s, right? Like I took well care of myself. I was just like, as I wake up, why am I going to impress the ladies or whoever? And it's a situation like Dave, right? I have my girlfriend. Who cares, right? But I think it's also more lately. Once again, ever since I started running, man, everything has changed, like mentally, so much. So it's not like I'm trying to look good, but at least try to look presentable, not for anyone, but for myself. Because I feel great, and I want to look great, but for me, for myself, and no one else. I'm not saying I'm a fashion guru or anything like that by all means, but hey, just every now and then, cut the hair correctly, get everything done, so set up correctly because it makes me feel better.
Yeah, feeling good about yourself is
Yeah,
a valid reason to do stuff. Absolutely.
yeah,
You
definitely.
know, yeah, I think, you know, feeling good about yourself because you're pretty is a kind of a superficial way to go about it. I will say that, you know, the times when I've been in my tip-top physical condition and I take my
Mhm.
kids to the swimming pool, and whether it's real or imagined, that I can kind of you know, I sense that the moms at the swimming pool are looking at me. It I you know, that feels good. That feels really nice. It's probably all in my imagination. I don't know whether, you know, whether I'm making it up or whether it's real. But you know, and I think there's also a bit to the idea that thinking it's real kind of does make it real, right? Especially as a man, because, you know, I mean, when I really think about the differences between men and women, here I go again, right? You know,
Go, go,
men
go.
are more attracted to the signs of fertility than women are, right? They're looking for someone who bears children. I think that's what evolution has done, and that means we are looking at the body of the woman, right? And women tend to look for providers, which could mean somebody with a lot of money. It could mean somebody who has confidence, right? Somebody who carries themselves in a way that makes them believe that they have the potential to make a lot of money, right? And I think, you know, other than having huge stacks of cash, the next most attractive thing to women is a man who carries himself with confidence. So that's a long-winded way of saying that when I think that all the moms are looking at me, I might be turning that into reality, you know, just by the act of thinking it. So I don't know, that might be nonsense, but that's the way my mind works.
No, I think that observation carries some weight. Um, it's you just gotta be a reminder, right? That us guys, I guess I'm gonna include myself here. I don't want to speak for anyone. We're not that subtle. Where women tend to be a lot more subtle.
Yeah, it's a more
Uh,
complicated calculation.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So they're really, if we're gonna do comparisons and who wins that, I mean, it's not like we try to win that anyways. I mean, and I think this is one of those miscommunications, right, that women and men have. I mean, it's just, and I believe this, right, that we're wired differently.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if I find somebody who has been both, right, and I don't even know what that entitles, but be from both sides of the fences, right? To tell me, oh yeah, you know, those guys, you know, as a woman, yeah, I feel this, and as a guy, I feel like this. You get what I'm saying? It's just, how can you run such experiment?
Oh, well, I don't think you can. I think, you know, it sounds like you're talking about someone who has experienced living as both, but I don't think that's really possible. I mean, there is this, you know, transgender thing where people take hormones and all kinds of stuff to try to become, you know, I hesitate to say something they're not, because, you know, I don't want to, you know, insensitively minimize their experience. But at the same
Right.
time, right, I mean, there is a difference between being born, you know, such and such gender and being chemically altered into the thing. And, you know, I mean, you know, what's really inside of a person's head that makes them desire to have a switch or some of those things, I have no idea. I know nothing about that, but I don't think there's really, I mean, you know, the experience of being a trans person is probably not the same as being a, you know, a you know, born as such and so. I guess people would probably quibble with that too, that you know, you are born in a body that's not your right gender. I don't know what the reality of that stuff is, and I probably would do best to keep my mouth shut about such topics.
I did not mean to turn that into that. I just curiosity, right? All the way from to the down level, right? You know, we need an entity of some sort that is able to experience
Yeah, yeah,
both, and then tell us like, hey guys, boys and girls, this is how you can help each other.
that's right.
And that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Bridge that
yeah,
gap. Bridge
yeah.
that gap.
Yeah,
But that's
because we don't experience both of those things, there are challenges in understanding what it's like to be someone else. The best we can do is try to imagine it, try to put ourselves in those situations. But it is not to say that it's a futile effort, but it is, there are going to be things that, from one perspective, you don't understand the perspective of someone else to some degree, and that we got to do the best we can with it.
I want to hear what Noah thinks. It's been
Well, I
quiet
mean,
here.
I think in that regard, being married is a really good learning experience. I mean, I don't know what it's like for someone who's married to someone of the same sex, but being married to someone of the opposite sex, I definitely feel I've gotten better. I'm a long ways though from still understanding, where she's coming from and how she thinks all the time. But it seems more familiar to me now than it was when I started it,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, I mean, there's definitely no doubt that sometimes we're just on two entirely different planes of thinking. We may say almost the exact same thing and mean two completely opposite things.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not just, men and women, right? I mean, there are so many different axes that make all of us individuals in so many ways. And, I think about, I've mentioned it a few times on the podcast. I don't know if you guys have heard me mentioning this, but the Five Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman is an amazing book, and he talks about these that everybody has different ways that they express their love to their loved ones, and ways that they receive the message of being loved. And I know that for my wife and myself specifically, actually, I've said this before on some of these hangouts, right? I'm probably repeating myself a lot, but I'm sorry. But that when the way that she would express love is gifts, right? And that's the way she receives the message. And when she would buy me something and my response was, "Oh, Jesus, you spent money on that? You got to be kidding me," right? And the message she thought that I was going to be, receiving was, "Look how much I care about you, that I was thinking of you and I did this thing for you." And so, it's just such a disconnect there. And, she took that as a rejection of love, right? And at the same time, that my love language, the way that Dr. Chapman puts it, is physical touch. And that, when I wanted to always be hugging and touching and, back rubs and caressing and all of that kind of stuff. And when I would be, very touchy, she took that as a message of, "Oh, Jesus, he wants sex again," right? And so the message was completely disconnected. So I mean, that's not men and women, right? That's just differences in how we express ourselves. And even if we were a same-sex couple, we could have those kinds of disconnects too. So human relationships are complicated. And but yeah, I think that there are some common traits that are, well, it's not even that, right? There's a spectrum, right? A bell curve of men and women for any given characteristic, right? There's a wide divide, and some women may be more like men in some respects than in other. You know what I mean, right? There's a whole lot of different things, and every person is different, and so it's even more complicated than we can make it out to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think people have a tendency to often discard statistical measures of people in broad categories because everybody is an individual, right? We're all at some point on the spectrum, but the information is still valuable, right? There's still central tendencies and there's a distribution,
Yeah.
right? And so it's useful to know, what normal or average is on that distribution and how widely people can vary. But you're dealing with individual people, it's usually more valuable just to deal with that person as an individual.
Yeah, totally.
Also, concerning that book, that is a very good book. I've read it too. And it was eye-opening for me because I had a tendency to try to express my love to my wife through giving gifts to her. And I found out that quality time was more important to her. And it explained her reaction to a lot of things.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I think that, without going into too much detail about the relationship of myself and my wife, because, it is not just about me, right? I really credit that book with being a turning point in our marriage to where, I think we were on a path that, was leading to a very ugly place, and in fact had gotten to a very ugly place. And I think, just some of the insight from that book, I don't know if I'd say it saved my marriage, but it certainly was a catalyst in what I consider to be a pretty remarkable turnaround.
Can you link that book? Because
Oh,
I'm too
yeah.
lazy to Google it.
Yes, I can do that. I will throw that into Slack.
And for others to see, like, why do you get so nerds talking about marriage?
Yeah.
No, but the thing is this, guys, right? I mean, I could joke about it, but and but the thing is, right? How can you function at work if you're having all these personal things, right, going on in your life? How can you focus? I mean, our job is to focus intensively to solve a problem.
Yeah.
Be there if your mind and your emotions are a wreck. I know the professional thing to do is like, well, check your emotions at the door, and that's cool, but and it's hard to do, especially depending on how severe this is. I mean, maybe that's something that was said a while back. I don't know, back in the days in the corporate America. But dude, today is just like, you want me to do what when I'm having this issue? I mean, the mental issue problems, right, Dave? I mean, I don't know if you heard, but the guy from Lincoln Park, right? He just committed suicide this week. And I'm like, what the hell? I mean, I don't know if you know who Lincoln Park is, but they're a band from the '90s, actually, and they're very well known. So I didn't know. I thought he just died. I didn't care to bother reading the details, but I heard that he committed suicide. I'm like, whoa, okay, So it's sad to see, right? And then just annoys me when somebody says, "Oh, when you come in here, you leave everything at the door," and But how can I do my work when I have a kid at home, or something like that, along those lines, something more severe, like Dave was saying earlier, right? How can you function properly and get your job done when you have these things in the back of your head, right?
John Cutler was talking on the show about that, about the inhumanity of organizations, and that right, treating people like a human, right? You are a human. You are not just a cog in a machine. I really, the kind of the feminist idea of objectification, right? The idea that you turn a person into a sex object rather than a human. I think there's good and bad, in my opinion, of that tack, that way of talking about things. But I think it's illustrative of something that's bigger than just talking about sex, right? Because it's the same thing with these organizations, right? If you are treating a person as just a device that turns caffeine into code, right, you're not embracing their whole humanity either, right? And so I think there are some parallels there of this whole thing, right? And yes, I mean, you are a human actor, right? You create software for humans. I mean, software is useless without users, right? Without it benefiting people in some way, right? They don't have to explicitly use the software to get benefit from it, but it does not exist unless it is of net benefit to somebody in some way. I suppose there's malware that's still benefiting somebody, right? Even if it is at the expense of someone else, right? So software is for humans, it's by humans, and really any job, right? If the job is more important than a person's mental health, then we've lost our way, we've lost our focus, something is wrong.
You both have reminded me of a couple of things. One, it's what you're saying, Dave, reminds me a lot of some of Marx's writings. What stands out to me is he described that as an alienation. as I recall, an alienation of a worker from his humanity, and that being one of the problems with capitalism, according to him. I'm not convinced that capitalism necessarily leads to that, but it can certainly.
Sure, sure.
Um,
Yeah, I think everybody's ideas are grounded in something reasonable, right? Even Marx, right? But yeah.
And then also something you said, Jose, that I think you made the comment that the professional thing to do is check your emotions at the door and continue working. It's interesting because in the clean coder, Uncle Bob actually argues the opposite. He says, if there's in this profession, like you were saying, you need to focus, and if there's something troubling you, in as much as it's within your discretion to do so, step away from your work until you get it resolved, and you can come back with a clear head. Because if you don't, your work is probably not going to be of professional quality anyway. It's going to be degraded.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So were you telling me it's nothing new under the sun?
Say that again?
I'm sorry.
No, nothing new under the sun. Somebody has said before, many years ago, to be exact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm afraid so.
Yeah. No, honest. I mean, this is why I'm leading this path of trying so hard to disconnect ourselves, right, with the whole work balance and everything, and so on. But I'm like, you can't disconnect the person, because wherever you go, there you are. Think about that for a second. Whether in your state of mind and your emotions, something else, you're gonna carry that with you no matter where you go. And think we try to rationalize that a little bit too much. I would like to talk to the people, especially with a chattery mind. How does that go? How does that work for you? When you try to leave your emotions at the door, whether you're walking through your workplace or you walking into your house. It goes both ways.
Yeah.
There's those things that we don't stop and think about, but it happens. I mean, how can I focus on one thing when it's in another place?
Yeah. It's not realistic to think that you are just going to compartmentalize everything in your life, I guess, is ultimately the truth of this whole topic, right? Is that it's just not really possible. And as much as we'd like to think that we are capable of just having a purely transactional work life, and you are, it's money for coding hours or whatever your operational unit of agreement is. It's not that's not the way humans work, right? It's I haven't actually read the book, but there's I've heard some summaries of a book called Descartes' Error that talks about the philosopher Rene Descartes, that he basically saying that his error was his point of misconception was, and the thing that has led much of Western civilization astray, is the idea of that that you have these separate emotional and logical natures, right? And that there is this compartmentalization, and that you can separate those things out and exercise one of them at a time, and that's just not the way we work.
No, it's reminiscent of the whole left brain, right brain concept too, right?
Yeah.
Which has been disputed many times by subsequent research, right? Better understanding that the brain works very much as a whole. And even that when one part doesn't function correctly, other parts can compensate. It's very, very complicated and very fluid.
Yeah.
And very interrelated.
Yeah. Well, and when Pavneet keeps saying empathy, right? That if you don't understand what your users go through when they use your application, how can you possibly create an experience for them that is what they need, right? There's got to be some human connection in everything that you do, or you're going to lose the whole point of what you're doing in the first place.
I agree with you on that, Dave. The problem is nobody's teaching that, at least in the academia.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk about their latest frameworks or latest language or latest patterns, and mine's better than yours, and my framework can beat up your framework, or my language is your language. It's like we take the whole thing back to middle school. My daddy can beat up your daddy. Seriously, it comes down to that, where we are not focusing on what you said, right? The user experience. Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, those lines of code, I'm all for patterns, best practices, and so on and so forth. But if the end result is a crappy experience for the user, then I believe as a software developer, I have failed.
Yeah. Yeah. Software is only valuable in what it enables.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But we get caught up in these little disagreements, for not calling them other things, than tackle the more real issues, in my opinion. So I never looked at it from this perspective, right, of the user into recently, really. I'm going to be honest with you. Uh, but there's still a lot of developers, both new and seasoned, that, get caught up on this whole comparison of things, as opposed to ask the user, okay, user, what do you really want? What would you really want to see? So that's all about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So is anything known about the Lincoln Park guy, right? About what motivated his termination of himself?
I don't know. I usually try to stay away from news and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure you Google it, you will find out tons of
Yeah.
information about that. It sucks to hear things like that. But I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I also had my own little dilemmas with suicide. I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
Oh yeah, many years ago. And once again, my 20s were such a blur now. Uh, but once again, I'll save it when I get invited to this Developer on Fire podcast.
When you get invited.
When I get invited, oh my god, that baby sounds like such a prick, huh? So no, but yeah, I also had. I'm not gonna lie. I have, for some reason or another, being always a very emotional person. I'm, now I can come out and say it safely. And as a guy, it's one of those things. Oh, boys don't cry, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But I've been always very emotional, and I never understood why. But like what we're saying, right? We are all unique. We are all set up differently, and sometimes I wanted not to be emotional, and that took a lot more work than just being. It's like it takes a lot more work to be someone than just to be yourself.
Yeah.
So I have lately, in the last couple of years, embraced it more and more, and just be okay with it. Be more acceptance of other views, emotions as well, because us as software developers, we're trying to rationalize everything. We're trying to put logic and all of these things. But at the end of the day, we're humans, right? We're emotional creatures. And once you get to the emotional level of someone, the rest is just fluff, in my opinion. This is why I tackle this thing from a different angle now. And actually, I'm a new job. One of the guys that brought me in, he's like, Jose, you're going to be the water like crazy fire around here. I'm like, not. So that was a compliment to me, because I used to have a real short fuse, like a bad temper. But somebody told me that. I was like, wow, that's such a great compliment, that somebody says I could be calm and serene as water. When I used to be total opposite in my a couple of years ago. So so what I'm trying to say here is that we should not ignore ourselves when we need help.
Yeah.
When we're going through some rough times, because we're gonna pay with that sooner or later. I mean, suicide's its own topic and its own deal, right? I'm not gonna get into that here, but I did learn quite a bit about it, especially when I was back in college. I was heavily influenced by the existentialism philosophy. So yeah, that's not a really pretty and positive philosophy to get into, but I was heavily influenced by it, and gave me a lot to think about. And when people, when these things happen, um, like this is baggage that was carried on for years, and it was not one thing; it was many things that just broke them to that extinction. I mean, point, right? I mean, I'll share something a little bit more closer to me. I won't say any names, obviously, who our closest persons were, um, but it hit home really, really close. Where years ago, a I don't know, you could say like a far distance, like a second cousin, almost third, really, but really cool. She committed suicide. She was sick. So yeah, man, it was hard to see somebody full of life, not even beginning to live, my opinion, and just gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, what are you doing? What do you think? What is your logic? How can you rationalize like that? Especially once again, being a developer, right? Always trying to find an answer or trying to solve a problem. Like, what then? Like, where's your logic now? In that perspective. So it puts things a lot into perspective. Quite hard. And then a lot of emotions start to come out of nowhere. You're like, wow, I didn't even know I could feel that way, or I didn't even think I could think that way. But yeah, that was a real awakening for me. That and it happens, and I hope it never happens to anyone you know or about or know of. But man, when it hits close home, it ripples. Um, it's just sucks. It really does.
Yeah.
I did not mean to turn this into a downer conversation, guys, at all. But what I'm trying to say is that it's very real, and if there's anyone that needs some sort of assistance, you can help them, at least guide them to get some sort of aid.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of phones out there. I don't even know them top of my head, but yeah,
Did
man,
you
it's very
listen to Ed
real.
Finkler?
Yeah,
On Developer on Fire? Yeah.
I did. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say here is that it can happen. It can happen to anyone. Some are more mentally endure, and they have them a very more mentally fit, I guess you can say, more emotional fit than others, and we're very good actors, right? And then if something happens, you're like, I never would have known of that person. They're so normal.
Yeah.
You never know what happens behind doors, and it just sucks. It really does.
Yeah, I think we really want to believe that everything's okay too, right? I mean, beyond being good actors, I think there's just, you've got a captive audience that wants to believe your performance. And so, it's easier to fool them.
Yeah, that's what happens when you kick the can. Ignore issues like that, real issues, because nothing kills you like what kills you from inside, like within. That's what real kills, and it will kill you slowly, and you will not even know it. And once again, like Ed Finkler, right? I mean, talks about this previously, and it's pretty real, and I don't think we should ignore it for that long. And it's the thing is, it's a battle. It's an everyday battle. Thus, why I started, the blog and the team, right? Uh, uh, to talk about these issues that we don't usually want to talk about, because what do we want to talk about? Software developers. My daddy can beat up your daddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But now, I mean, if anybody's, listening to this or watching this, right? How do you battle something like that, right? How about today you feel like total crap? Don't be by yourself. You're not alone. You're never alone. The judge inside your head is telling you that you're alone, that you're no good, but you never are alone. And if you are having a hard time trying to reach to someone, seriously, smile. That counters a lot that goes on inside your head. Smile, thinking something nice. Hell, I even wrote about this, right? Write some things that make you smile. We all have things that make us smile. Just write it on a piece of paper. Carry that paper with you whenever you're feeling like crap. You're having a crap day, your job, but I don't know, wherever you go, just have that little list. If you have a family, maybe your family.
Yeah, a picture comes to mind.
Yeah, just set a mental picture, right? And just write it down, and just, oh yeah, I remember when this. Oh yeah, I remember when that. And that little exercise, very practical, right? Anybody can do it. Just helps quite a bit, because this thing sneaks on you when you least expect it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's, I mean, you definitely should get some real help and all that good stuff, right? But hearing all the stories, right, that people have to take medication to just battle anxiety, and I'm like, that could have been me, but that's not me today.
Yeah.
The answer, I'll save that when I get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, just going back to the same thing that I was saying before, right? About me being different in my 20s and from where I am today. I barely used to smell. I barely used to see things with a, positive and carry on, good vibe. I used to be the downer even, I have to say that. And now it's like, I'm completely different from then. And that's good. I like that. I like that about myself, because if I don't like it, who's going to like it for me?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, how we should feel, right? I don't know, David, which episode you talked about this, but, it's like, we were taught not to be feeling good about ourselves, right? In school, that's called bragging.
Oh,
when
yeah,
you do something good, right? I don't know if you talked about this with Andrea or someone recently, but we're taught with that, like, oh no, don't say something about positive about yourself, right? That's bragging. If you work hard for it, right? Why not? I mean, why should it be the same with somebody that is not trying to someone that is trying, right? So those one of those things too, right? Like, it's not pep talk. By the way, pep talk to me doesn't work. You have to really believe it, that you are good, that Dave is pretty, and I find Dave pretty. Okay, it's like, damn, it's just seriously, it's not bragging or having like an ego problem or anything like that. But today you say in the mirror, you're like, wow, today I look good, man.
Yeah.
Today I look good.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's not about being all boastful and everything like that either. It's a little right balance that sucks the most.
Yeah.
To get.
Yeah. I think that, the physical appearance is one of those places that I'm different from John Sonmez, right? I mean, when he talks about, the things that he's doing for his body, it's always in reference to some number or, how I look or, some of those kinds of things. And I think, that's, if that's what drives you, that's all fine and good. And I've often said that, I don't care. I'm not that interested. It's easy to say that though, when it's not something that is really, lighting you up, right? And I heard him mention one time of just being on the street and some woman coming up to him and just telling him, "Hey, you have a sexy body," and that those kinds of moments are really nice, right? That kind of stuff makes those things worth it. So when he's, trying to get his body fat percentage number down to some crazy number, right? It's not, even that kind of thing that I would say, oh, that's just vanity. Well, it's about human connections too, I guess, in a lot of ways. So there's goodness to feeling good about yourself for whatever reason.
Yeah, because like I said, I flipped the question on you. If you don't feel good about yourself, who will?
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's also,
But what I'm saying is this still, right? And I throw another little tidbit here. If you are hoping for someone to feel good for you, someone that is not you, that's called codependency.
Yeah.
You're relying on someone else. Good for you. Like, oh, you should feel good for yourself as well. Yeah. My opinion. I mean, the everything else will come into place, right? Like the lady, one day probably Dave's gonna be walking on the street, and and the lady's gonna be like, "Hey, Dave, you look good, man."
Yeah. And it's great to hear that. That feels good, but that's also, I mean, that's depending on somebody else to get that hit, but it's things like, though, right? I see my test runner go green and I know that my software is working, right? That's another kind of feeling good about yourself that doesn't require anybody else to tell you that, hey, you did this thing, you got it right, And I think those kinds of rewards are more substantial than, hey, you have a sexy body.
Hey, Dave, you have a sexy body.
That's very nice of you.
You're welcome. What's up, Noah?
I don't know. I suspect this happens for other people. I don't know. It's definitely happened to me more than once. That you'll get information that you really matter, or other people think more highly of you than you ever thought.
Yeah.
And, one example that just really threw me for a loop. School, some guy that was really just an acquaintance of mine. I wasn't very close to him or anything. He wrote in my yearbook that I was like his role model, and he looked up to me.
Cool.
The whole time I was there, and I was just totally taken aback by it. It just did not anticipate that or expect it at all. So,
yeah,
you just never know who's looking at you thinking you're an awesome guy, or or what people's opinions really are. And when you get down and depressed, you definitely underestimate them without a doubt.
Totally. Yeah.
Agree 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we should be a little bit more, if we really believe it, right? Because if you're lying, somebody's going to see right through you. You tell some people that you respect and you admire, that you admire them, you respect them for X quality or qualities, they're going to be like, oh my God. So you just never know, like you were saying. I mean, shoot. I wish I would have gotten a compliment like that, Maybe I have, and nobody's gonna tell me, right? And it feels good. It feels good. It's something like that can make your day really a lot better, and whatever comes your way, you can just stomp on it and move on.
Yeah. I wonder sometimes, with guests of the show and stuff, and like, somebody tweets about that they liked an episode or something, and I often reply to those with, oh yeah, so and so is great. They've, it was so rewarding to talk to them, and I wonder if I've become John Gruden, right? You hear John Gruden on the football broadcasts, and he's talking about that every player on the field is the best player that's ever lived, right? And it's a bit annoying and silly, and I wonder if I'm doing that, but I just, I don't know. I'm self-conscious about being overly positive all the time, but at the same time, right? people have something good to offer, and every single guest of the show has been wonderful in many ways, right? So, and if they do take that message that I say something nice about them, exactly the way you're talking about, right? Both of you guys, that that message of, it was an enrichment to my experience to be able to interact with you. Well, that's a pretty cool thing to give somebody.
Yeah, but this goes back to what we talked about earlier, right? We're all different human beings,
Yeah.
and we all have something different to share, our experiences, our knowledge.
Yeah.
And what do we want? Cookie cutter? But, the thing is, people don't even know what they want.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I want at times. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna put myself in there, right? I mean, I'm not immune to this whole ordeal. That once again, I believe everyone has something to share. You might believe you don't have anything to share, right? But that information alone, someone can find it useful. Someone will look up to and says, "Oh yeah, I remember when Dave and Noah were talking about this. Man, that really struck a chord with me, right?" And I think that's what I have become more and more lately, of experiences. Sharing the experiences, sharing that knowledge, right? I mean, wisdom comes from experience, in my opinion, not from reading a book or becoming the smartest person.
Yeah.
In my opinion, right?
Yeah.
And that's why there's always an old geezer like Dave that gives a lot of wisdom to the group.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh man, don't worry, Dave. One day somebody's gonna do this to me. Don't worry, karma.
Oh,
Karma
for
is real,
sure.
man.
Yeah, no question.
It's real. So I'm sorry, guys. I can't. That's one thing that annoys my wife. Is like every time you have something serious to say, you always come out with your little comments.
Oh, yes. My wife says the same thing. Can't you just be serious about this? And I think there is very much a gender line on that, that question of, lightening the mood with a joke. And, yeah. In my experience, women tend to find it very annoying that we want to joke all the time about everything.
Yeah. That's another difference, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Say.
To varying degrees, right? Some women, not all.
No, exactly. That's the thing. You can't generalize.
Yeah.
You just can't. Once
But
again,
you can, but you have to understand the limits of your generalities.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just those things that you want to put everyone in a category, but there's always going to be reasons not to put someone in that category, right?
Yeah.
So it's that's why I always throw a joke here and there, to lighten up the mood. And when my wife tells me this, right, I'm like, listen, life is already serious as it is for me. Why am I going to be serious? Time. I mean, I believe, when, gets game on, game mask on, and let's do this, let's get serious. But I'm like, whatever. And once again, another difference between my 20s me and now me is just that. And since I have done that, I have felt like such a relief, such a burden has been lifted off me. And I see a lot of people still struggling with this. But the thing is, if somebody doesn't want to help themselves, how can you help them?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it goes across the board, whether it's software, whether it's relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, guys. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Dave.
Well, that's a question of consent too, right? I mean, you can't help someone, you can't deliver them a positive experience unless they agree that they want to receive that from you. And that's important, right? You can't help somebody unless they want to be helped.
Well, even if it's possible, it's not worth your time and effort to do so.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll be an order of magnitude harder, in the same amount of time you could have helped 10 other people who were ready and willing to receive it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The question is now, guys, how do you know somebody wants to be helped or not?
That's a good question. And that variability among humans, right? They don't express it the same way, right? So every case you have to judge that individually, right? And so many people, I mean, you can't just ask them, right? That doesn't get the message across of what it is you're offering, and there are limitations to communication and to express what it is that you're offering, right? How can you say how I'm going to help you, or that they need help?
It's hard. It's very complicated. It's very involved in every case. It is.
Yeah.
Hell, just do that with yourselves. How do you ask yourself for help?
I don't know.
It's hard. Like I said, me guys, if you don't know this by now, I like to go to the heart of the matter. I like to go to the root as much as I can, as far as I can get to the root. And sometimes that causes problems. People sometimes don't want to be touched in certain areas, and that's fine. I got burned a couple of times. It's okay. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that a lot of people like to deal with the symptoms, the side effects.
Yeah.
I like to go straight for the gut, man. Why does it really hurt, and where does it really hurt? Do we have to do surgery, or I can give you some pills to make you feel better, right? So that's always been me, and I try to apply it to myself, sort of often as I can.
The challenge is knowing what the heart is, right? Knowing whether you're dealing with symptoms or the root cause.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and this whole thing goes about with empathy and everything else that we're talking about, right? That I've been hearing a lot lately, even more with more people chiming in. It's great, right? But and they say, oh, be empathetic to others, be nice to others, and everything else. Have you done that to yourself, with yourself? Have you come to that agreement?
That is insightful, right? I mean, we often kind of overlook ourselves in this rush to, try to be enlightened, understanding people, right? Understand yourself first. Yeah.
I mean, I don't get me wrong. I'm all for that, right? But how can you help me if you can help yourself?
Yeah.
At the point, but
yeah,
that's basically what I go to. I'm like, are you empathetic to yourself?
Yeah. I mean, that's straight out of Jesus, right?
What?
Remove the plank from your own eye in order to be able to see clearly, to remove the splinter from your brother's.
Yeah, there you go.
Or something along those lines. Yes, Jesus. I'm sorry, I didn't know that you didn't know how to speak Spanish.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did not understood your I did not understood your accent there. I'm sorry.
Right. Yes.
You must be speaking some gibberish. I don't understand, sir.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, that's the point that I go to, right? And I'm okay with people wanting to help other people. I'm glad. But clean your house first, man.
Yeah.
Try to at least.
Yeah.
And
well,
then,
if everybody took care of their own house, then nobody would need to meddle in somebody else's.
Right.
Yeah. But if you want to, right? It's just like being in the airplane. Put your own mask on first in the case of the emergency before assisting others.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and sometimes I think about this because I have questions about this myself. It's like, if we help us, I think that if we try to help ourselves first, may come out selfish, or at least the voice inside your head says that you're being selfish.
Yeah. A dysfunctional message that was put there by a dysfunctional culture.
Exactly. I mean, when I first got into a plane many years ago, eons ago, yeah, I'm old, get off my lawn now. saw this little put the mask on yourself first, right, Noah, before others. I'm like, what is such a selfish message that is, you know? It was like, why? I'm gonna put, I don't know, whoever's next to me's mask first before putting it on me. But it also, I did not know this, but also reflects on your background. Were grown up.
Yeah.
You see all these little variables, right, that we throw into the mix here that makes a person, or tries to make a person or part of a person, right? Adding family into this, right? If you're the oldest, if you're the middle child, if you're the youngest child, plays unwillingly or unnoticeably, that makes a difference, right? Yeah. And I trace down back to me that a lot of the issues or a lot of the things that I had to battle with was because the oldest child syndrome. I didn't even know there was such a thing until I Googled it. And then I found out a lot of things like, okay. And then, go about it. That's what I am talking about. Trying to understand yourself first in that regard. That way you're going to have more mental awareness fit when the battle inside your head, you can make a better, or try to make a better decision at that point in time, in the heat of the battle. Not when things are going well, because we all love running downhill, but nobody likes to run uphill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one thing that with all of these messages about empathy and being nice and everything else. But I believe that if you're nice to yourself, you're going to be nice to others. And that if you find a jerk here and there, that you're not going to pay attention or mind to them. And you're just going to move on. That's it. Because there's always going to be jerks.
Yeah, that's well said, man. I mean that's really, I think there is something much deeper there than maybe you even realize. The idea that, I think that if you really examine people who are nasty to other people, you will probably find exactly what you talked about there, right? That they have a mistreatment of themselves at core in that whole thing, right? I don't know that you really can be a nasty person to the extent that there is such a thing as a nasty person, which I don't think there really is. But yeah, the way you see yourself is going to manifest itself in how you treat other people.
I agree. But the way that doesn't make me, an expert or anything. It's just that, I'm a curious person. I sort of express it. So sometimes I just like to observe, and observe people is one of my favorite hobbies as well. Like Eckhart Tolle says, watch the thinker. Watch the thinker. And once you start to watch a thinker, you're gonna be, looking at things from the perspective, right? Watching from the 10,000 foot level or whatnot, looks different than being on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we start with that individually, then we can offer better to our people closest to us and our coworkers, and to hopefully an industry, right? But it's an everyday battle. Just because you think you made it to the summit, that there's no more battle. There's always going to be, and that's okay. That's normal. As long as you're accepting of that, you'll be fine. Because we are all goal crazed. We're all trying to get somewhere, some destination, right? And we forget that when we kick the bucket, hopefully later than sooner, we're gonna be, just like Dave's buddy says, or one of the books that Dave's buddy says, Jesus, dust to dust, right? That's really the gist of it. Like sometimes I like to look at bigger things so I can see how pathetic my struggles are, like how insignificant my struggles are, you know, or somebody else's struggles are. So that way you can kind of put yourself into perspective. Because let's be honest, we all think our problems are the hardest problems and nobody else's problems come closest to ours.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm all for acknowledging that, that there are bigger problems out there than the things that I myself experience. I really have very little patience, though, for preaching at somebody else about how small their problems are in comparison to something else. But that's probably a whole other topic.
Yeah. Well, Dave, that's the thing, though. Nobody can tell that to anyone. You have to come to that conclusion individually.
Yeah.
So it is, because then you're insulting the person, or that person will take it as an insult. So it's one of those thin, fine lines, right?
Yeah.
That just thin ice, really. Thin ice. That's how I can put it.
Yeah.
And then once again, that becomes what? People, humans, individuals. But hey, why are we so sad, man? Smile, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I tried to do, guys. And I did not get this. Like, I don't know. One day I woke up and be smiley, and I seem almost happy. If people from high school, like you were saying, Dave, saw me today, they're like, "What the hell? How? Why are you smiling? When did you became the happy-go-lucky in the classroom guy?" Because I was the opposite of the happy-go-lucky guy in the classroom. That's why people would be surprised today if they were like to see me again. So,
well, just like Uncle Bob, right? Being fired for being unprofessional, it yields a person who that really matters, right? That's those lessons learned from experience are the ones that take the deepest hold. So I think that when you've experienced what it's like to take yourself too seriously, and the focus on the negative, right? You can find when you find a way to turn that around, then it becomes all the more great, right? And I think you mentioned, hey, I'm bringing us down with this conversation, these heavy, serious topics, and no, we don't have the peaks without the troughs, right? So, I think Scott Hanselman said on the show that he doesn't like to get too high or too low, just likes to be Mr. Even Keel, and okay, you know what? There's something to be said for that, but at the same time, right? You miss out on a lot of the experience when you don't dip down there and soar on that thing, right? I mean, I don't know if you really fully live if you don't get on that roller coaster and give it a go.
Life is a roller coaster, Dave.
Yeah, hell yes, it is. Dudes, I should get going here.
Yeah, me too. I think I just hold my brain power for today.
You did what?
I used all my brain power for the day.
Yeah.
Actually, now I'm tired because I went running this morning. Yesterday we went tubing, so I'm physically a little drained.
Well, that sounds fun.
But it ain't what it used to be, Dave. It ain't what it used to be. Oh, who am I telling this to, Dave? Oh, come on, Dave. Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
No, that's all good, guys. Thank you for the conversation. I did not even think it was going to turn into a deep conversation.
Yeah, definitely a different turn today. That's for sure. That's cool. It's good. It's good stuff.
It's cool. If you guys are cool with it, I'm cool with it. That's all. If we want to talk about technology, we can also talk about technology related stuff. But I go back to what we talked about earlier, right? You pull the technologist and the human.
Can't do it.
Yeah. So
concentric circles.
Dave, we stop using big words, man. That's okay. I'm taking you. That's nothing, Dave. It's okay. You're smart guy. I get it. It's okay. Hey, remember.
Thank you, sir.
No, you don't say that. No, Dave. Okay, you're welcome, but you don't say that. That's how I respond. You said, "Damn straight I am."
Damn straight. I like it. Yes. Hell yes.
There we go. Hell yes. Damn straight I am. Damn it.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the results. That's what you do. How about you, Noah?
How about me? I'm not gonna tell him he's pretty.
Uh,
Oh, Dave. Well, you win some, you lose some. How about that?
yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Not everybody's a true fan.
All right, guys. I'll see you next
All
week. Have a
right.
good week. Bye.
Broadcast done.